hey, these things you guys never talk about ever. Let's start a new conversation.
Yeah.
And just not that it should be that way, but just realistically, that's just the way it sometimes it be the way it do.
Some people don't think it be the way it is, but it do.
But it do. We are the Arms Attorneys. Welcome to Mailbag Monday. I really like these. Do you really like these?
Yeah, it's my favorite. I say it every single time.
Okay, so we've got more of your questions today. We're going to talk about NICS checks. We're going to talk about black powder. We're going to talk about the 9th and 10th Amendment. But stick around before we get started. Show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting the like button.
Those 9th and 10th Amendments, they just don't get the loves that they used to.
They do. They are underloved.
All right, so let's start with, so these are all questions that folks have submitted in the comments section. We go through, read, curate. We enjoy interacting with you folks. And so if you have a question, make sure to leave it in the comment section below and we'll answer it in a future video. We'll start off with Roland by 7FX. What's the status of Matt Hoover's case? We've gotten a couple of questions about that.
We've gotten a bunch of Hoover questions because as a new administration takes over, people wonder what's going on. So
lots of people got pardoned.
Lots of people got pardoned. Not Matt Hoover yet, though. So we have the gears of justice turning extremely slowly.
They require blood sacrifice to keep them turning.
Yes. So as far as I know, and as far as we can tell online, because remember, we are not Matt Hoover's lawyers, which means not only do we not have the inside information, but also we are prohibited ethically from interfering with his defense. So for everyone out there who's like, what are you two so-called lawyers doing to help him? The answer is ethically and legally, we cannot do anything except raise public attention. So we have a motion to exceed the word limit for the briefings filed back in May of 2024.
And nothing else. That's the last thing that's reported. So
crickets since
kind
then.
of the system where they report like filings into federal cases, it's called PACER. That is the last thing we see in PACER right now. Maybe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that, I mean, obviously we wouldn't have any specialized information about this, but it doesn't look like there's a lot going on at this point.
No, I would imagine they are briefing. You know, I've never appealed a federal case, so I cannot tell you if it takes upwards of a year to brief this kind of case. I can tell you that a state appeal, I can get the briefing done in 60 to 90 days.
Yeah. Well,
and
what is the appeal? Well, they're looking at, hey, did the trial court make any errors and, such that it would warrant a new trial or this case to get overturned, and from what I understand, I mean, the trial team did a fantastic job on Matt's case.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a lot of issues that are ripe for appeal here, potentially, that would maybe change the outcome. So we're just watching.
Yeah. But I will say, I don't want to spend too much time on this one, so we have a lot of questions, but the bump stock FRT decisions, no bearing on his case, because his case is, although I guess in the broad sense is what is a machine gun case, it is not does this item function as a machine gun in the same way we're talking about bump stocks and FRTs, because there's no dispute about if the lightning key card actually works, if you can cut it out and actually make it work, there's no dispute about how many bullets are expelled per function of the trigger. The dispute is this a First Amendment issue or is it a Second Amendment issue? And I'd imagine
it's both.
I mean, it is both. And I would imagine they are arguing as well. Like, not only is this free speech and not a machine gun, but in the alternative, if it is a machine gun, it's illegal for you to restrict machine guns the way you're restricting them, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see that.
All right. So now we've got at Element of Kindness. That's lovely. I have a question about NICS and Form 4473. I go to 2 different FFLs. One runs a NICS check for every purchase. The other does not because of line 29, which is the one that says you don't have to if you've got a qualifying license to carry, and my license to carry. Each FFL says the other is wrong. Who is right, Richard?
They're both right.
They are both right.
So FFLs have complete discretion on what they want to do as far as, and what this person is talking about is some states.
I guess assuming you have a qualifying license.
Yes, that's
not every state's license.
Right, that's what I was going to say. So some states' licenses or permit to carry serve as a substitute to the NICS background check. The ATF has that up on their website. Maybe that's a good reason to get a license or permit from your state, because then you don't have this undue delay by the NICS system.
Big reason why I keep mine.
But they say, so what does it look like here in Texas? Somebody, fill out their 4473, they throw down their license to carry, bing, bang, boom. Texas makes available a system where they can verify whether the license is still valid or not. But all right, FFL has discretion. They can do that. Or if they choose, they could say, guess what? Even though I'm allowed to do that, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to run you through the NICS system. I'm going to perform a background check. They have discretion. They can do both.
They have total discretion. They can do it by company policy. For example, you go into an academy, they're going to run you every single time, even if you have a license to carry. Don't buy guns from academy. But they also could say, you know what? Normally we don't run license holders, but I don't like the way you look, buddy, and so I'm running you. They can do whatever they want. They have total discretion.
Yep. All right. Next one we have is Kirk Morrison 6131. I have a gun with factory ammo as my main carry gun, but by my bed, I have a downloaded 45 Colt for coyotes. What would I would I be in trouble if I grabbed it? So I guess he's saying coyote gun in self-defense problem ?
No. I mean, as long as the firearm is legal. So the law cares about, in a perfect world, right? The law cares about why you shot, not what you shot with. So as long as the firearm is legal, you should not have an issue no matter what you grab. Now, that being said, when shoots get dicey, when things get gray, do those things come into court? Do prosecutors love to hammer on stuff like that? Sure. But I mean, I'll tell you, if someone breaks into my house, like, depends on what room you're in, what gun you're getting. And, some look nicer in a courtroom than others. And it's just, it will depend.
Yeah, and this is where, and I saw some comments about this because we had this in the last Q&A about not liking Masab Ayub's position on modifications. I think we take a little bit more moderative approach of hey, it's a calculated risk decision. Yeah. Just know, hey, we kind of bucket these two things, function enhancing, non-function enhancing, and non-function enhancing modifications, a little bit more risky in the courtroom. Is it going to change a good shoot into a bad shoot? Probably not.
Hopefully not.
But it's going to create some needless issues.
Function enhancing, modify your triggers all day.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Ammo selection.
That's fine.
If you 3D made your own stuff homemade, I don't know, YouTube's weird about that stuff, so we won't talk about it. But, I think there's a reasonable explanation for most of this stuff.
Yeah, agreed. All right. At Robert Gantry 2118. Okay, more questions. You say you like doing these. We do. Please answer this question. How come nobody ever brings up the 9th and 10th Amendment in the SCOTUS? The 10th Amendment says the states and the people therein can make any laws regarding anything not enumerated in the U.S. Constitution. Guns are definitely enumerated. Okay, what are the 9th and 10th Amendment, Richard?
So 9th Amendment, all right, so we have two things. We think about how our federal government is theoretically supposed to be structured, is it has enumerated powers, all right? The federal government, you theoretically can only do the things that we say you're allowed to do. Is that happening in practice anymore after 200 and almost 50 years? Not so much. But with that model in mind, what we did with the 10th Amendment is we said, hey, everything we didn't turn over to the federal government, reserved to the states. 9th Amendment is what's reserved to the people. All right, so the question becomes, hey, why don't these things get a whole lot of action? Well, Civil War, United States are to United States is. That's part of it. The second part of it is we don't have these things don't get cited in court cases very frequently. They don't show up in Supreme Court decisions. And so really our body of law kind of works off of, hey, precedent and things like that. And so that's just my observation. I don't see these things cited a lot. And so we don't have any jurisprudence around it.
Right. You are going to be way better off if you are trying to distinguish existing precedent than you are if you're like, hey, these things you guys never talk about ever. Let's start a new conversation.
Yeah.
And just not that it should be that way, but just realistically, that's just the way sometimes it be the way it do.
Some people don't think it be the way it is, but it do. Yeah. All right. This one is from Dave Suppressed Deputy. Oh my God, I just got unfollowed by YouTube. How to redo follow. Why am I not suppressed? YouTube is
a lot recently.
Yeah, YouTube is doing some crazy stuff. Yeah. If you were subscribed, if you're watching this video, make sure you're subscribed because this is happening a lot.
And go visit the other gun tubers too, because obviously I follow the other channels, not just the law gun tubers, but the gun tubers. And everyone's views are really suppressed right now because YouTube doesn't want anyone to see gun content. So just go try to fight the algorithm.
Yeah, fight the anti-2A algorithm.
All right, so this is at Dave Skillet 9235. What are the laws about carrying a black powder revolver in a vehicle? Well, check your state's law for variation, but generally speaking, black powder, not a firearm. So you do not have to abide the rules of firearms as you would normally. So let's say here in Texas, big old rule, if it's visible in a vehicle, it has to be holstered. But that's firearms. This is not a firearm. So hypothetically, go nuts.
Yeah, the two things I would check out under your state's law. First, we have our federal law of what's considered an antique or a replica. And those things are not considered firearms under federal law. And so those are firearms that were designed, or if it's a replica of a firearm that was designed before 1898. Is that right?
Yeah. And most states mirror that definition of what is antique or replica.
Is it really 1898?
Yeah, it's so Texas law, and you can keep this in the video if you want, Samir. Texas law and federal law differ, and I forget which one's. No, I forget which one's which. So one reads pre-1899, and the other one reads 1898 and before. So both mean 1898. They just read slightly differently, Texas and federal. But I cannot for the life of me right now remember which one's which.
Yeah. So things that you need to be on the lookout for: has to be muzzle loading, has to use black powder, can't use conventional center fire, rimfire ammunition.
Yeah, it can't be the kind that like look like a Glock, but they're black powder. It's got to be a replica.
Yeah, if one of these older guns, I'd say probably the most popular one on the market is like those Navy Colts, like 1940s guns or 1840s guns. But you see, I mean, these things are revolvers. I mean, they're very, very effective. They won the West. These guns not considered firearms, so what does that mean? I mean, you could have these shipped to your house.
Yeah.
Because they're not
firearms.
They're not firearms.
Felons can carry them.
Yeah, if you're
not firearms.
Yeah, not considered a firearm. Again, check your state's law. If you have some,
Something
exhaustive prohibition on like felons can't possess weapons no matter what form. I mean, the state of New Jersey considers like a blow dart gun a firearm. They say whatever. So just be careful. But I imagine most states are not going to be more restrictive than the federal government when it comes to that.
Correct. And some states, Texas included, they have restrictions on how much black powder you can have in your possession any given time, but this should not run up against that. It's a lot.
It's usually a high quantity, like 50 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And then just be on the lookout for that.
Be on the lookout.
All right, next question, Boxer1287. Can a municipality stop employees with an LTC from carrying while working?
So this is our last question, and it's a spicy one. So, yes. I mean, check your state's law. Check your state's law. There might be some fantastic 2A states out there that say that the government's not allowed to do that to its own employees. I would consider Texas at this point a pretty fantastic 2A state.
We got an F rating from the Gifford Center.
Yeah, that's a badge of honor. F for fantastic. But even Texas is like, oh, you work for the government? No, the government can restrict your 2A all day long. You're an employee. And that is generally the way it gonna be.
Yeah, so two things. Criminal, probably not, but just be on the lookout for that. Second thing, would it be wrongful termination for the employer to terminate an employee if they say, hey, guess what? This is my place of business, my rules, I don't want y'all to carry. Could an employer terminate you without it being wrongful? The answer is probably yes. I mean, I haven't seen anybody who's gotten those protections. Maybe it exists.
But generally speaking, I mean, the city of Houston, even like there are like county DA's offices in Texas who will prohibit their prosecutors from carrying inside, which is wild to me because
they're supposed to be the law.
Right, I know, right? So anyway, I mean, the answer, unfortunately, and I hate that this is the answer because I think it's wholly unjust that like the government can't stop me from carrying into City Hall as a citizen, but someone who works there every single day and might want to protect themselves when they leave and go to and from, or maybe from some psycho who goes in, they don't get to do it. And if they do it, they're going to get fired. That should not be the way that it is, but it absolutely is the way that it is.
Yeah, we should fix that.
2027. God, we already have a 2027 list up to my elbow, Richard. All right.
But really enjoy this stuff. We hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
Yes, and leave your questions here. This is our most mined database for our new questions episode is what happened on the last questions episode in the comments section because it's easy to compile. So leave your questions here. You want them answered. Until next time, we're the Arms Journeys.